Very much. When I see a young person, I see an image of a stopwatch over their head. And the stopwatch is counting down from 18 years to 0, and that image appears the day they are born. And I see this because it contributes to the sense of urgency I feel around every single day that student is a part of the education system that we put them in. Because in our country, you graduate high school roughly at the age of 18. And so we're going to use that as a proxy. And high school graduation, we have decided, is the day, literally the day, when we stop caring about you quite so much, okay? So the day before up to the day before you graduate from high school, do you have food? Do you have transportation? Do you have guidance counselors, good teachers? Do you have a plan? The day after high school graduation, what's your plan? Are you going to college? If you're not, we're concerned. And we'll take care of you in a different way if you don't come up with something on your own. And so what I want to talk with you about today and why we're here to learn with and from you, because there's so much great work happening around the future of education in today's education, but that sense of urgency that those stopwatches represent means that we have to address the problems of today, the problems that are happening right now, and the ones that we can see maybe tomorrow or next week, but we also have an urgency to start creating the future. And so if high school is, at the end of high school, the way we have it right now is so important, that must be symbolized in a really meaningful way. You get a diploma, a credential which has faded to the point of irrelevancy. A high school diploma does not signify in any ubiquitous way academic readiness or rigor or what you've done. It does not signify career readiness or job readiness in any meaningful way. It does not even signify college readiness. But yet it is the culmination, it is the validation of your entire school experience up to that point. That's what we have decided is the thing, and the thing is nothing. And so what I want to suggest today is that we start thinking about the end of high school, and not ending high school, but what happens on that day when you finish, and what are you prepared to do? And so there's a lot of great work happening in this room, and I think that when we talk about great school models, or we talk about the innovative district programs or charter programs, and some of us are familiar with those, or out of school or summer, those are a means, and they are critical because they are inspiring that future vision. But they are a means. They serve about this many kids out of this many kids, and they're not kids for very long. And so how do we take that access to the programs that are personalized, that embed the ed tech, that have the credentialing, the dual enrollment? How do we take that access and turn it from this to this? And what I think we might want to do is invest in the end of high school. And by that I mean while we're still continuing to look at the things we're doing now to address the needs of today, because there are millions of students in our schools that need the kind of programming that we're evolving as a group and social innovators. But we also need to have a long view. And we need to say, if the end state for everyone means that you exit high school with a diploma that represents the academics that you actually did, or the learning that you had, or, in addition to, I should say, a work-ready credential that makes you immediately employable the day after high school. And in fact, maybe you're employed while you're still in school. And we know these programs exist. This is not new stuff. I'm not coming up with this, but what I'm suggesting is that should be the case for everyone. Or an associate's degree that's, again, immediately employable, or contributes to a 4-year college degree, but that's happening. Or a full year of college credit, not a smattering of AP courses that may or may not apply. Because what that provides is momentum at the end of that high school experience into what happens next. But right now, we're not investing in that point. We are investing in things that we hope will accumulate into that end state, which I think is great, and I think we can also invest in the end state. So what I'm hoping to convey today, and what I'm hoping to offer, is this: a learning opportunity to start exploring, whether it's as philanthropy or as investors, what it would look like to transform what happens when someone walks across the stage, gets their diploma, turns their tassel, hugs everyone at their graduation party, and then begins life with the rest of us. That's a stark transition. And there are other ones in life, but we're going to focus on that one right now. And I think what we might want to consider is creating a catalytic fund or funding, not to diminish anything else that's going on, but that would allow us the space to plan far into the future and to do the things today that way out there we're glad we did, in addition to the things that we're already doing. That's a movement. So what I'm talking about is not a program or a prescriptive school model or an approach, but an actual movement to change what happens at the end of high school. How long will that take? I am going to throw a number out there. 18 years. It's a good number today. So 18 years. So I was struck this morning as we were talking about Generation Y and millennials and the emergence of Generation Z. I was struck by two things. One, we're going to run out of letters in the alphabet once Generation Z is done. And then once we have that, that's already done. And then two, it's like 1,000 years until the next millennium, so we can't use that one again for quite a while. So then what should we be doing here to come up with some names for the next groups of people, cohorts of young people? I'm going to throw out Generation A. So it's a simple, you just start back over again, okay? So Generation A are the kids whose stopwatches started this year. That's Generation A. And maybe we could think about, what if Generation A was the first generation of American students to graduate high school under this completely revised end system? Because if you start with what happens at the end of high school, it starts to go back all the way. We've seen, those of you who are working in education, or even in all of the different social aspects that intersect students and families, when you start to change what you're required to do, you start to change what happens along the way. And so I want to suggest that that might be something we want to look at, and that's something that we want to continue talking with you about and to learn from you about the things that are working and how can those coalesce into a movement where we say this is the end state. And there is support for you to go through a design process of the kind of design thinking we'll hear about to get there. And it might take a while, but we want to make sure that the end pays off. Because we view our grants at the Kauffman Foundation as investments. And the return on investment is the results and the impact it has on people's lives. And for a big investment, you need a big return. It needs to be commensurate with that size of that money and the size of the work. And this is a big one. And so this is one we could not do alone as a single foundation, or that any foundation could do, or any set of investors, or any programs. But it's one we'd like to explore and continue exploring. Ewing Kauffman, as Oliver said, the founder of our foundation, was an entrepreneur who believed that the ability to create a business and employ others and a good education when he was growing up were the two things that contributed to his success. So when we look at entrepreneurship locally and nationally, and education through a very local and regional context, we look at it as the future of work and the future of learning. And where is the nexus? And one of those, and there's no single nexus, but one is what happens when you move from that stage of growing and learning to that stage of learning and working. And that's an area we want to continue to invest in. While Ewing Kauffman was still alive, he started programs that provided opportunities for students to go to college and finish college who might not normally have that chance. And we continue that legacy today with programs like Kauffman Scholars and Kansas City Scholars. I'm a part of the Kauffman Scholars team as a board member, and we had to meet with one of our students. She was a good student. She got A's, and then suddenly was getting F's. So we called her and we said, we need to understand what's going on. Like, what's happening? You need to stay eligible. She was a high school junior. Some of our students are in high school preparing for college. Some are already in college. And this was a self-aware, poised, and bright young woman. And she said, I am the number 2 student in my high school, or I was. I was getting straight A's. And my guidance counselor said, you can't do anything else here that's going to matter. You need to start taking community college courses. Not a bad piece of advice. So she could start earning her college credits for after graduation. So she enrolled in Intro to Comp and her intro math courses and started failing immediately. And so she said to us, without any prompting, she goes, I'm meeting with my teachers. I'm going through the tutoring. I'm going to fix this. I'm a junior, and by the time I finish high school, I will be ready. But I wasn't ready for the most basic community college entry-level courses. And the thing she left us with was this. What if I would not have found that out until after I was out of high school? Okay, and now I tell you that story not for the pure anecdotal joy of a terrible thing, but because she is not alone. In the last month, 3.5 million stopwatches hit 0. That's how many high school graduates we just put on the streets. Okay? Between now and the dream of Generation A, another 60 million people will graduate from our high schools. And right now, the plan is to give them a diploma, whether they're going to a rigorous, innovative future of work and learning high school or a struggling, not preparing you for intro community college high school. We're all walking out with the same thing. And I think we can do more, not just for Generation A, but for the 60 million students who will be a part of this system all the way through. So you'll hear more from us on this, but we look forward to hearing from you as well. Thank you for the opportunity to be in this environment with you and to learn with and from you in so many great ways today. Thank you very much.